Good morning and welcome to Relationship Wednesday, Life and Style, right here on your favorite TV station, KTN. I'm your host, Chris Giatemo, and we are on This Is Us. I hope that the holidays are taking you well together with your families. Today, I've got a very interesting couple because we've been dealing with young people, rather mostly on This Is Us. We've had people who've been married for 1 year, 2 years, or 3. Today, we have the great opportunity to have people who have been at it for 32 years. Yeah, it's 32 years for Mr. and Mrs. Migwi. All right. 32 years, you're looking good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How has the journey been for you, the 32 years?
Well, it's a long one.
Obviously,
but
it is a long
very
one.
nice.
All right.
Yes.
So, how did you start it up?
Well, I saw this lady in the church. She was very, very beautiful. And I was feeling I'm ready for marriage.
Okay.
I was actually looking for a partner. So I thought of a plan how I could get into her. So there's a friend of mine who was very close to the family. So I approached him and requested him to just try and bring the lady to a talking point. And it worked. Yes.
Was that something that was a personal preference, or is that how people used to do it those days?
That was, I don't know how I just got that idea from. But I was very shy.
You were shy.
Very shy. I could not approach such a beautiful lady. Yes.
How did that feel like? He had to use somebody to come and get to you.
In fact, he told me that later. They worked it so well that I didn't notice that he's being helped to approach me or something like that. Because the moment when we went to my sister's place for lunch, there was a telephone line there, and he went and picked the number secretly. So on Monday morning during lunchtime, he called. And then I wondered, who is this? And that's how he started.
Okay.
Making calls, using sweet words.
And you know, calls were those fixed lines.
Yeah.
And I remember one I made while I was in Dar es Salaam. And I felt very nice to talk to her. That's how we sort of was bonding.
Okay.
Initially, I wasn't interested in getting married. Yeah, kind of. I come from a polygamy family, and it's not easy. When you see 1, 2, 3, 4, you get discouraged in a way, and you really wonder, will I really make it? At the same time, I was also learning how to become submissive, because to some extent, I really hated to be bulled around and pushed and ordered.
That's what, to you, that was the picture you had of marriage.
Yes, you know, you become a slave of somebody. And I hated it. Yeah.
But that is now not...
I was about to ask you that because now 32 years down the line, you don't look like you're somebody's slave.
Well, it's true, because you see also him, the way he approached me, he knew my weaknesses, and he really challenged me. Because as you can see him, he's cool, and you see somebody who has been brought up in a kind of a violent kind of a state or something like that, you're not very soft. So you just look at somebody and at once you just think.
Became comfortable.
That is now by courting. And we used to go places. She came to understand me closely, because marriage is about you're bonding two people together, two hearts and feelings. So you have to stay together. You have to, you know, get to know each other's mind, thinking, behavior, and then you find that you can merge.
You can merge. So it's very important for people before they get together in marriage to spend some time in courtship.
Yeah.
And getting to know each other.
It helps a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
That removed for you some fears.
Yeah, and at the same time, at the moment that he just decided to go and meet my parents, because that was the key thing. Before we start going out, he had to come home and meet with my parents and tell them exactly what he has in heart. I wanted to hear it from him telling my parents. And from there, I started gaining confidence in him, because many would fear.
Many would fear. Because I was about to ask you whether that was common in that day. I know that's not so much. Today, I'm not sure that people will say, go and talk to my parents first. People will meet on social media and something and just begin to court or to date. But in the 80s, was that something that was common? People
It wasn't very common, but you know, as Christians, okay, I got saved when I was in high school. So to some extent, you know, we've been taught how to go about things, and also putting somebody to test or something like that. I had to be sure this man really knows what he wants. And I knew my parents were tough, so I wanted to see how he will behave.
But tell us now about the 32-year journey, from the point that you got married. Now, how has that been? You know, it's one thing when you were meeting each other from the outside, you're courting, you're building friendship. Then you come into the same house and you begin to live together. And 32 years is a long time. How have you kept it going?
Well, it's a long journey, but you have to plan together. You have to realize the challenges that are on the way. Children will come, resources might be
Minimal, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to plan. And first and foremost is you start by love. You know, if you love somebody, is whether it's resources are there or not, you have to.
There are people who are talking about love. There are people who would not know what love means. When you say you love one another, they don't know what that really means, how to define that. Because some people think if I am taking care of the bills, I'm showing you love. Some people think, you know, if I am around here, I'm showing you love. In your case, what did love mean?
It's not that superficial love.
Okay.
It's that love of with deep understanding. That
Challenges, and I'm sure those are not foreseen challenges. They're not the ones that you would plan. In fact, I think it's easier to deal with a financial challenge. But when it comes to health challenges, you're already here in a marriage, then you're faced with something like a health challenge. How do you carry yourselves along so that you are able to support each other through that?
I would say that very much lies entirely on the man. You know, the man is the head of the family. And if he feels now that I think this is not what I expected, that would bring some cracks in the marriage. But I thank God for him, because he was really supportive, very supportive, because it wasn't easy. Okay, when you conceive and then at the moment you start having forced labor for months, you are hospitalized 2 weeks, you are released 1 week, 2 weeks in, you are released 1 week. So I was just getting in and out of hospital until it was, you know, for the second child, they said, I think this is becoming a bit complicated. Yeah. And there he was very supportive. And then we decided, well, let's stay with these two.
All right.
Yeah. And initially he decided that we can do with one at first. But then the firstborn, at the age of 3, he started feeling lonely. He would take some things and start talking to some butterflies in the house. He would go to the corridor and say, don't go, don't go. I don't have a brother. You know, as a mother, you feel pity for your child. And incidentally, he was the only boy in that whatever. The rest had some girls, the boys had not yet come up. So he was saying that I would like to have a brother. Okay, to some extent it was a real challenge, because now you want to have a son,
Right.
and you are not the one to determine. And at the same time, you are risking your life at the same time.
Right.
So to some extent, we trusted God, we prayed, and it worked.
So you decided, what I'm getting is that you decided that you are in it together. It's not going to be one person is the one who did not play their role. Because sometimes people feel it's the other person who, maybe somebody lost a pregnancy. And sometimes there is that acrimony. So you find a husband is upset, like you were not careful with the pregnancy, but the two must stick together and look at it like they're both in it together.
They be jointly responsible. The moment you start seeing differently, that's when the trouble sets in.
Okay.
Because you'd see as if it's the weakness on one side.
All right. Did you face any external pressure? You know, did you have any external pressure? Did you have anybody talking to you and asking, what's wrong with your wife? She's always in hospital.
Yeah, these things have to come. But you have to stick your ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So you didn't allow anybody to
Get in
influence and get in, right? Somebody has to protect that.
Yes.
How did that make you feel? You know, like your wife, feeling protected by your husband.
I had confidence. You know, in marriage at times, you know, when there are those fights which comes in and goes, something like that. At times there's that when you feel, okay, you have people around you, but yet you're so lonely. You know, okay, you have people, you have friends, they are coming to see, but yet you're so lonely. There's that kind of, I really don't know how I would call it psychologically. You have people, but within yourself, you're all alone. Okay, and then when he comes and comforts me and say, don't worry, take life easily, life is like this, you know, don't take things so harshly, that kind of a thing, and then, oh, okay, I moved on.
When children begin to grow and then they get to that place, of course, even 35, 32, and then 27, they're not little boys, they're not home all the time. How did that transition, how was that transition for you? From having these children, growing within, you taking care of them, you directing them, they're going to school, then they get to the place where they're adults, they're moving out of your space. How's that transition?
Well, to some extent, as for me, I think it wasn't much of a challenge. The only challenge that was there is when they go and you don't know where they are. They would come in late, you won't sleep until you feel that the gate is opened, they have opened their doors and they have gone in. And then at least you would look around and see, are they really portraying the Christian lifestyle that you taught them? That was a great challenge to date. Yeah.
And they had to find their way around, right?
Yeah.
They have to grow to be their own people. Yeah. But now the firstborn is married, so he's not living with you anymore. So how do you take care of yourselves in your space when the children are gone?
They're still learning to, we are still trying to separate, right? And now trying to train him that he's now becoming of his own. He's going to bring up children, see? So we are trying to train them.
So you're not completely separated?
We are not completely, we are still in the same compound.
Whose idea was that? Was it your idea? Was it his idea?
Okay, to some extent there's this challenge of joblessness. Like my son Dan has done aeronautical engineering, but he couldn't get a job. So he's doing any other odd job to earn a living. And to some extent you look at it, as a parent you're working so hard to have your children, at least leave something for your children so that they may not struggle the way we struggled. And at times, you know, when a boy goes and he's 30, you haven't seen a girl around. And with the norm that's there today,
Right.
you start getting scared.
Right.
Will I get a girl or a man? You know, you never know. And to some extent, okay, though you are praying, you know, I just start doing some things. Okay, what is going on and ABC, and then I would, oh, forget it. This is not the time. And I remember my elder son telling me, you know what, Mom, I've gone around looking for a girl like you, but I haven't gotten any. They are not there.
Right.
And then I asked him, what kind of a girl are you looking for? Like you? What are the qualities? He didn't tell me. Then eventually he brought in the lady, and then she told me, you know, Mom, I'm a church elder. I'm a rail leader with the Anglican Church. And then my son brought in the girl, and they locked there. Then I went and asked what is the girl doing in the house. Now we are not like you. You are a real reader, but not me. You are born again, but not me. And nowadays life is very hard. So we just want to try and see whether life
Can work.
will work for us.
How are you going about that? Because you are the father, you're present. Here's your son. On the one hand, he's facing certain challenges.
What now we, a parent will just bring up a child in the way of God. That's what we are instructed by the Bible. Bring up a child in the way of God, and when they grow up, they will not regret. So we are hoping whatever wrong that has happened, they are going to correct themselves. Yeah, because that is the only thing we have to do. We have to pray for them, wish them well, and provide for them, give them strength.
Okay. How do you deal with in a relationship, in a marriage like now yours? So you've got children who are adults. And I asked about independence earlier on. You said you love it when they have freedom. And sometimes they are growing, and while they're trying to find their direction, it is different from what you'd want for them to have. What would you advise a parent to do? Because sometimes some parents will kick out their children for saying, you know, you're not going the direction that I wanted for you to go. And they will have a very rough kind of relationship. What would you advise a parent who's raising up now not even a 30-year-old, but even a 20-year-old who is going a very different direction?
What happens is that they are living a different time from what we lived. So it's important to merge the two pictures. Try and listen to them, because they have new ideas they've gotten from the market. Try and listen to them, and try and bring your wisdom which God has given you. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, try and listen to them, take the good idea, throw the bad one away, and bring your wisdom.
Okay, so when you're not parenting, and you're a grandmother now, right? Do you spend most of the time with the grandbaby?
When I'm around,
Okay.
yeah, I really try to bond. Because at times also my life is busy, but I always take time for them. Yeah.
And when you're not busy, how do the two of you spend time around each other in a way to build your relationship? You see, because children come and they grow and they go. Then
You're somewhere, life goes on.
So even at 32 years, you still have to find ways of keeping your energy up and your love going, right?
Yeah.
You have to find exciting things to do.
Definitely, yes.
And to keep the friendship going on.
That's
if
the
you
secret.
don't work it out, you go. you have to remind yourself where you are, but you don't want that to happen to us. Yeah, and you have to work together. Try to do things together. Try to encourage one another. And at the same time, when you go out of the norms that it's always good, it works. Yeah, because you're able to discuss your things, you're able to see things differently, and at times you relax.
All right. What would you say to, I've been hosting quite a number of young couples, and if you were to sit down with a young couple, having considered what happens in this age, it's a bit different from when you people are getting married. What would be the things that you would say to them to do or look out for?
First of all is, I would ask them a question.